goodness. Hello, 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 everybody. You know me, I'm Christelle Martinette. And today is the Mystic Talks around and about spirituality. And today we have a special guest, and I wanted to talk to, for a long time, I wanted to talk to an astrologer because even if I dabble in astrology, I'm not an astrologer. I always tell my friends, astrology gives me a headache, all of these, the measurements and everything. And I was cruising around and I saw Stormie's channel. I saw her on, I said her name. I saw her on Instagram as well. And she's very, very lively. She's very, very lively. She's a firecracker. She's literally a firecracker. The energy, I just love the energy. And so, this is what made me gravitate to her. And she was very gracious in accepting the invitation. Hello, Linda. Hello, Linda. Tell us where you're from. So now I will introduce you to Stormie Grace. She is part of the new generation of astrologers. Stormie, welcome.
Yes,
thank you so much.
You. Welcome. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. It was nice. It's always nice to be asked. It's a humbling moment.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? We have Nakia. Nakia is also in the room. She's saying that. I'll put her on the screen. She says, hello, beautiful. You and Stormie are the best. Oh, that's a compliment is always welcome.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. We have Linda from North Carolina's with us. Now, I'm going to start slow and ask her questions that probably everyone knows, but it's always nice to get a confirmation of the meanings, because a lot of people, when I used to, and I do once a month, I put out readings for every sign. Always, invariably, people say, well, is this good for the moon, the sun, the rising? Is it just for my son? So it's a long story. But anyway, maybe if you don't mind, Stormie, if you don't mind telling us the difference or the value of the sun sign in relation to, say, a rising sign or a moon sign or any of the other planets in your chart, in a chart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that question all the time too. So it's a brilliant question. Even if you've been studying for a while, sometimes hearing someone else's take on it just in general, I think is useful. So I want to start out first with the horoscopes, because we need to know where we need to be listening.
All right.
So whenever I or most astrologers cast a monthly horoscope, what we do is we
So you say, the word is you cast a horoscope. Is that right?
We cast a horoscope. Yep. So we will take the sun sign, let's just say it's Libra, which is traditionally in the 7th house. And we take that sun, no matter who it's for, because we're doing a general reading. Right. We're going to move it to the 1st house. And then we align all of the planets, and that's how you're going to get your general horoscope. Now, why does that work?
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, that's important to understand. So my experience and genuine belief about it is, first of all of the sun signs, even if your sun is in the 7th house and not in the 1st house, all of the sun signs, you vibrate with that energy. So you're going to get some of those experiences that month. It may not be just in your 1st house. It may be in your 7th house. So you can listen to a sun reading and apply the depth, not just the superficial, but the depth of what your reader is talking about to what's happening. The sun signs always get it. But if you grab your chart, and depending on what type of astrology you use, if you grab your chart, you can look at your rising sign, because the rising is always at the 1st house. Here's the challenge that I run into twofold. One, depending on the type of astrology you're using, your 1st house may have more than one sign. So
wait a minute, just a moment. I'll interrupt you. When you said, depending on the astrology you're using, give us a little more. What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So if you're using the type of astrology that's called whole sign, which is it takes each of the signs and just puts them in each of the houses. So 12 signs, 12 houses.
Right.
And it does it zeroes them all out. So it's just very simple. It's very clean. It's very easy. Typically when someone's doing a horoscope, they'll do that. But some people also just use whole sign as their preferred method. And that is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You see it for what it is. Right? I use Placidus. So in Placidus, you can have more than one sign in one house. So you see what I'm saying? So depending on what you're using, if you're coming to listen for your rising sign or your first house energies, that may be a jumbling, right? So now the other part of that.
Wait a second. Now, you sound like such an old soul with all of this information. How long have you been actively working as an astrologer that you can say, I've worked professionally as an astrologer?
Sure. So I've been working professionally for 7 years, and just so many beautiful people have come to work with me. So that's the other part that I think is critical for me to bring to you guys, is it's not just my studied experience. Right? These are case studies with people I've sat with, people who listen to my forecasts and come back and we talk about it, because that's the other part of the craft is I can say and put out whatever I want to and practice the craft.
Right.
How accurate and how do we tap in, and what are the variations with that too? So it's coming from experience of study, experience of professional experience as well. So you guys are getting some of my genuine truth today.
No, it's fabulous. It's fabulous because, well, you don't hear this side of the story so much. You only hear the zodiac, or you only hear, you never hear all of the different types of astrology. Excuse me that I interrupted. Go on.
Yeah, but I get it. It's interesting if you haven't had a lot of exposure to it, or you're not like steeping in the astrology community. But so the other part of the rising energy is the expression of it, right?
And what do you mean by the expression?
So in the sun energy, because it's so core, we kind of beam with this energy deep within us, right? That's why it's like, no matter if somebody's talking about, Scorpio sun energy, you can kind of pick up on that if you're a Scorpio sun. But in the rising energy, our rising sign is how people see us in a very outward expression.
Oh, this is
right?
good to know.
Yeah, I always paint the picture of us as the rising sign is our like gatekeeper, but it's also the very tippy tip of the funnel right before everything comes out, right? Ooh. So if you've got this nice big funnel way back here at the top where it's first going in, it's hitting this sun energy, which is like, yep, this is what I'm motivated. This is how I'm beaming. I'm over here, right? It's passing over some moon energy, which is about our emotional bodies. Okay. And as it comes out in that final drip, the final product that people are going to see in public, that's the rising energy. So if you're listening for your rising energy, you're kind of listening for how is this going to manifest in a very outward way. It's not always as drastically internal. Now, sometimes that's great. What are you listening for? When I have a product that I want to put out, I want to know how my rising sign is being impacted.
Wait a minute. When you say, I'm sorry that I bother you, that I interrupt. When you say, a product I want to put out, what do you mean? A service? Or
if I want to, a service, or I say, I want to launch a new book, or something like that. I want to know how my
creative process,
something that people are going to see external from me, right?
Right.
So now the other side of that, I guess it's threefold. Some people at this point in the journey just can resonate more with the rising sign. And if you do, you do you, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Do you. However, I believe that the sun just really soaks up a lot of this general reading that you can go back and apply a bit more accurately. But I support people who connect where they connect. Now, moon energy, let's just jump there really quickly. Because the moon governs our internals and our emotional body, our reactions to things, right? Like if somebody were to slam a door right now, you would actually be responding with your moon energy, not with your rising energy. So when people push those buttons, right, you're activating that moon, because your sun might hold back and say, nah, but your moon is like, I'm on it. I'll get us, So if you're listening for your moon energy, you have to just realize what you're listening for. What's
Where's
the translation?
Your moon? Where's your moon, Stormy?
My moon is in Libra. The majority of my chart is Venetian energy.
Oh.
It's Venus Mercury energy.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I think everything could be better with a snack and some lip gloss. Like I genuinely believe it in my whole soul.
I love it.
I'm like, you ask other astrologers when I work with them, I'm like, hold on, let me gloss. I got gloss. And it's so funny because it seems very superficial, but I genuinely believe when you show up well, when you put yourself together, it's a sign of respect for other people.
Right.
It's a
I
sign of
agree
respect
with you.
for yourself. And lip gloss is lip gloss.
Lip gloss is lip gloss. I'm starting to feel the need.
Right? I know. I'm like, oh, I might be getting parched. But so I think that when people ask, should I be listening for one of these three? I say, and those are also considered in astrology, the primal triad is what we call it, top 3 spots. So listen for any one of them that you resonate with, but understand the way that those placements are going to be activated, because transiting energy, so when we're telling you that the planets are moving around, right, transiting energy brings an event, brings something in to the natal planets, which those are the pieces of us, so you've got Mercury bringing in this need to converse to your moon, where you're saying, I need to talk about what I need here. I maybe need to clean something out.
Hang on, just a second. Hold that thought.
Okay.
I've got Yana on the screen. Do you see that on your phone? Because do you see this little?
I do. It's like this big.
Yeah. Okay. It's Yana says both of your energies together looks like 2 lotus flowers with rainbow energy dancing.
I love it. Thank you.
That's great. You ladies are awesome. That's wonderful.
Lotus flower. I'll do it.
Yeah, and someone asked, you gave me your information. My moon is in Pisces. I'm a double Aries. Aries rising, Aries sun, and I'm Pisces moon. That's what, who asks? Nikia asks about the moon, my moon. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So as long as you are listening, like just listen for your primal triad. And I tell people all the time, you really have to sit and kind of feel into the information and see which you can resonate the most strongly with. Because I also believe firmly, right? I'm on that line of like humanistic evolutionary astrology right in there, where I do believe that, yes, I'm a Taurus, right? My sun is in Taurus.
I would have guessed, yeah.
I'm Taurusing. I'm not stuck as a Taurus. I'm learning Taurus lessons. Right. And there are some months where I tell you what, I know how to be a Virgo rising much better than I'm Taurusing. So it's kind of like, I just genuinely believe it is impossible for us to screw this lifetime up. So listen where you can listen, because we're being spoken to. There's a cosmic conspiracy to help us move forward in the journey. So listen, because the other thing I know is from tarot to numerology to mysticism to astrology, the truth is the truth no matter where we find it.
Right. And you'll find, and sure, the people who are watching hear often the same things when they look and listen to other readings, which is interesting. And now I'm going to ask you stupid questions because I need to know too, and I'm sure. Then there are nodes, right? Now from those 3, the triad, the big triad, what would you, of course, people want a chart. They would need a chart for you to give a reading, right? What is the next thing that you look at in a chart, in a person's chart? That tells them something about themselves.
The nodes. The nodes are absolutely where I go. And so let me explain a couple things quickly. Every planet has nodes. It's their most northern and their most southern points. But typically in astrology, when you're hearing somebody talk about the nodes, they're talking about the nodes of the moon. So the north node and the south node. So that's typically what we're talking about. But just know, if you ever pop in someplace and somebody's talking about the nodes of Venus, they're not drunk. Like, they really know what they're talking about, right? But it's not, if you don't know, you don't know. So when I'm looking at the nodes in someone's chart, the idea is that these are the work that you've got to do. This is some of the work and the characteristics you're trying to undo a little bit and not live so much in these because you've already done that. But instead, you're trying to move towards these qualities up here. And I don't love to just use karmic work, but I like the word soul work.
Yeah.
The
I'm a soul
nodes are,
lady. We're all
Yeah.
about soul here. Yeah.
yeah, because it's tough soul work. We're
Yeah.
not good at this yet.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a bit to learn in moving towards this stuff.
Yeah. Now, I'll stop you there just a second because the soul popped up, okay? So the soul is popping up, and here you are, you have a chart. You have somebody's chart, you have your chart, you read through, I guess, charts. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone comes to you for a reading, and the first thing you do is get their chart, is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm gonna get their chart.
All right. Now, when you have their chart, there's that soul thing that we were talking about. The soul is a messy idea for everyone because people just don't know where it is, you know.
Sure.
And some people call it consciousness, some people call it spirit, some people call it, and there's really a lot of confusion there. How does that figure in your work? Let's say someone comes to you, anyone, someone said they had a reading with you. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was Neurolay. She said, and she asks you, look, and I know Neurolay, she's looking to get pregnant, and she told everybody here, so I'll say it again. Now, when you go to her chart, is there something about her soul that emerges to you very clearly? Mm-hmm. And if it does, how does that emerge to you? Go ahead.
So it happens.
I'm sorry to give you all these terrible questions.
No, it's great. I love it. It's making me explain how it's happening over here. So I want to say this: astrology in and of itself. You do not have to be an intuitive. You don't have to have anything like that going on.
Okay.
Astrology is a technical skill.
Okay.
It's very technical.
Okay.
However, most of the time your person may have their intuition kind of tapped on because that's what symbol readers do. Uh-huh. We kind of tap in. So, but the way that it works for me personally is the minute I pull somebody's chart, and usually well before, the soul starts to talk to me well before I've sat down and went through that thing. Mm-hmm. And for me, I have always been able to see and to hear spirit. I watch the world.
Good for you.
Every day. But that's my experience. And just because you go to somebody who doesn't have that experience doesn't mean that they are not good, right? I want to be clear.
Well, let's say, just like you said, I see that most of the astrologers that I find are technicians. They're technical people. And it's very difficult to get someone talking soul. I mean, really. I just have never heard an astrologer talk soul, which is, very interesting. So, chapeau to you, hats off. Really interesting. So let's say that she comes and you see her chart, and typically she's interested in having a baby, okay? Now, is it possible through her chart for you to give her some kind of information like that? This is curiosity talking here.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Well, and so to back us up just a second and bring us forward, the first thing I'm going to look at is the nodes, because I want to see what's the kind of life work outline that you have set here, right? So I want to see what does that look like, because if you want to have a baby in a lifetime where you're actually supposed to be just fully of service in a traveling country, but I want to say this too, even on that. Okay. I do believe the universe builds each of us with certain desires because they are meant to be fulfilled. Right. So, but I want to see how the soul, what's the actual soul work? And then we can dig into the chart and say, I'm not going to be able to look at this woman and say, absolutely 100,000% you're going to have 5 kids. But what I can say is, here are times that are most likely that you could begin your family. Right. Based on kind of the cosmic makeup. And it will also depend on what cycle of your life are you in, right? Because what may happen is your body is over there primed for some baby cooking, but you're so focused on work that you're not even allowing that in. I've seen that plenty. Right? Or vice versa. You thought, I don't know, I guess I'll talk about kids whenever that happens. And then you're so focused on work, and then you bang the guy in the broom closet, and there you are. Right? Because that happens sometimes too.
Wrong guy.
Right? So when we look at predictive timing, because that's a different kind of astrology, but when we look at predictive timing, that's what we're talking about. If you go to somebody, I swear to God, if you go to somebody and they tell you, absolutely, I know, you run.
Yeah, you run. Yeah.
Run,
It's like timing. It's like timing with the tarot, people, you can't, it's just not done, Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to take the seat of whatever is out there that is much more precise than I am.
Let me ask you something else. I'll just jump in. I know the story is very long, but as you were talking, you made me think, what is the most rewarding experience that you've had in these last 7 years? I know everything is really rewarding. It really is when you help people. But is there a story that you would like to share with us that was, really satisfying to you?
Yeah, God, that is a really, really hard one. Because like you said, when you do sit with people at this really, it's a really very intimate level.
It's an intimate experience, yeah.
And it is. And I feel like when somebody hands me their birth chart information, they hand me
it's
their
very
life.
Intimate, yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe some of the most rewarding things. This is always rewarding to me when I sit with people and they come to me and we do maybe some predictive timing on things, and we look at when are good times for some things, and you know what, whether they leave and they feel good and feel uplifted or whatever, it's always beautiful to have them come back and say, I am pregnant. Right?
Yeah, right.
Or I did get that job, or yes, I absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
I had a lady that I sat with, and she just was so hesitant about me, which, is usually, it's a two-sided deal.
Yeah, sure.
And 2 years later, she came back and she's like, I just couldn't believe what we were talking about. And those are the things that happened.
Yeah.
So I think that what's rewarding is sitting with people and giving them a safe place to understand that I just as one human being to another, don't have any buy-in whether you're successful or not successful. I'm just here to sit with you. And this is we meet as equals. Right. So I think that's rewarding to me in my practice, is to have people come and it's like, yes, I'm going to do the astrology reading, but we're equals. So this will also be interactive, right? Like, if you're not going to talk about your life, who the hell is, right? Like,
this brings me to ask another question. Readers usually, many readers don't want to read for themselves because they see what they want to see. So if I'm a reader and I need something, I'm blinded and I can't get out of my blindedness, I would go to somebody. People ask me that. That doesn't happen to me very often, but does it happen to you as well? Do you often feel the need to have someone else read for you?
Oh, yeah. I think it is one of the wisest practices any one of us can adopt, because this is the thing, right? Even in the most technical skill, what I have between me and my chart is I have my own views.
Right.
Whether I want to or I don't. Right? Like, so if I allow my spiritual teacher or a guide or whatever to sit with me, they don't have any of my stuff. So they're going to just look at it and tell me what they see. And that is actually useful to me, because I cannot get around myself. Right? No matter how much higher work I do, I'm just in here.
It just takes time often, because you get so caught in, and when it's right in front of your nose, it's the worst moment because you can't really see it, Everybody's giving me such positive feedback. Lisa says, this is very educational. Thank you, ladies. Nirvana Bliss asked the question, how can she tap onto the soul, the chart and all of that, numerology? What is it? And we just talked about this, but maybe you would like to get another, give us an example, maybe?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, this is beautiful. So it's great. So let's say somebody comes, they give me their chart, I pull it up. Immediately, the way it works for me is it's like music. A chart starts to sing. And as I start to apply the technical skills of astrology and look at what the placements are saying,
Yeah.
it's like the music will get louder or quieter, or it'll say go over here. And you have to remember that many times when I do a reading for someone, one, I've never met them before,
Right.
or two, they're coming and they'll even get like a video
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
to me, so I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
actually meet them. So for me, the way that the intuition taps into the technical is that music is playing and I just start talking to this soul, whether they're in front of me or they're not, and I'm like, oh, so this, and then we go back and forth for confirmation. Unless it's a video reading, I'm going to say, and sometimes even in a video reading, I'll say, hey, you know what, I want to give you another 5 minutes, give me some confirmation on what's this, what is this.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, okay, let's go back to that.
Yeah, and I think that the other way to tap in is that for me, I have a daily spiritual practice to just tend to, and that helps.
Yeah, we do.
That helps.
You have to have that.
Well, if you're a banker, I don't care
yeah,
what
absolutely,
you do,
absolutely, absolutely.
right? But it helps to kind of open the channels, because I believe everybody has got the ability to do it. I'm not over here sensing anything that nobody else is.
Yeah.
But it's that I allow that to be the first part of my business. The first part of my business is spiritual work. The second part is technical.
Yeah.
So it just lights up. It's like a little.
Yeah. Really. Tell me, when you've gone to a reader yourself, another astrologer, were you so surprised? Was there ever a moment when they told you something and then you came back and they were right? Did that, I mean, you were seeing your own work in a mirror, you know? Did you ever have that shock, sort of, almost?
Oh, yeah. I do, and I continue to do so. You know, if you ever get a chance to see him or meet with him or watch his work, Brian Coulter's an evolutionary astrologer, and he's my bud, right? And as we sat, we both, before we worked together, this is how astrologers hang out. We both exchanged birth information, right? And it's like, you know, we exchange birth information because it's like we need to soul gaze right away before I even hang out with you. So, you know, and as we were going through, we both sat and explained some key points of each other's charts to each other.
Oh, how interesting.
We were like, and to hear someone explain or express us in a different way. It's just, it's perspective shifting. Right? From that one little mini, like 10-minute conversation he did on my side of my chart, from that, I shifted some behaviors because I was like, I've never even thought of it that way.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Right? It's fascinating. It really is
brilliant.
Fascinating. Yeah. Have you ever thought of, say, branching out into another, say, offering another type of, what did you call it before, product or creative thing, not a book, but sort of a service, you know, that has your spin on it, your name on it, your a specific thing that's just that only you do. Do you have that now, or is there something that you're working on now that you're going to cook up for us pretty soon?
Yeah, so I'm probably cooking something up that I don't even know about, but I can tell you that it's what's interesting about astrology that I continue to find is, one, while I'm doing my soul work of learning this thing and giving it away, I let my path be very directed, and I've tried to, like, you know, touch off the path a little and be like, oh, well, maybe I should bring a little of this in, and it never fits. And that's okay. So I've gotten to not trying to jump my path anymore, but instead continuing to walk forward and just speak this language. And it seems like what happens is I'm speaking the language to the people that can hear me.
Yes.
That's it. And that seems to be different enough. I do write books, and I will write more books, right? But other than that, I am just out there in the universe, y'all, trying to own my little piece of being in the next generation of this industry and speaking astrology, not just the intuition, because I got to be so clear about that. Astrology is not just intuitive. It is a technical skill.
Technical.
So so as I bring that out there, I feel like that's kind of my spin on it. I'm a Taurus. I am not out here trying to create anything new. I'm trying to make sure that what is and has been stays beautiful and solid for my grandkids, you know?
Yeah. Well, amen to that. We have Yanna here that says Socrates said that astrology is the universal alphabet. It's like music when you learn how to decode it, which is an interesting concept. And then we have Joan who says rectification. Do you? I think it's called. Do you know or do you do, Stormy, what's called rectification of a chart?
Yep.
Oh,
Sure do. And I
what is that? Maybe you could explain it to us, rectification?
Yep. So what it is like many times in many regions or wherever, for whatever reason, people don't know their time of birth, which place, time, and date are real important for us to pull the most accurate chart that we can. So oftentimes, if you don't know your time of birth, you either use 6 a.m. or you use noon because it gives some good planetary split. But a rectification is literally we're going back to events in your life and we are tracking down the timing. That's the beauty of astrology. We can follow the patterns back to exactly when it was happening, and we get real close to laser in on what your potential time of birth was.
Well, it sounds almost like past life regression in the present life.
Yeah, in its own way, it definitely is, because the astrology works in patterns and cycles and nuances. Yeah. And we can follow that backwards just as well as we can follow it forward.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's what we do. We rectify that chart. And my favorite person, I do it. I know most of the people that are in my little tribe do it, but my favorite person to watch do it is Barbara Goldsmith.
Barbara Goldsmith. I'm writing these down.
Write her down. And Barbara's my buddy who's English, but she lives in Greece, and I love her. And I just love watching her do it.
What do you think if we open the floor to questions? See if people have, instead of hearing me ask the questions, let's get some of. Are you ready for that?
I'm totally ready.
Okay.
Whatever,
okay.
y'all.
So Elizabeth says, what do you ladies think of this pandemic and planets together that are explosive? I'm not sure that I understand. Maybe you've understood. Is maybe the idea here is, what do the planets say to you in terms of the pandemic? Could it have been foreseen? And is there any way, do you have any? I don't have any answer to that, but it's to you.
That's okay. So, and I think, yes, Elizabeth, and everybody. So, okay, could the pandemic have been foreseen? The actual pandemic itself, we were not completely sure of, but because we knew that Neptune would be in Pisces, we knew that we would be fighting something that we cannot see in the form of an illness. So exactly the pandemic, we couldn't have called that one. However, what we did know, and we knew this 20 years ago, that we would be right where we are right now for a reason that we couldn't particularly identify, right?
Yeah.
So we've been talking about this cycle coming, and if you look back even further beyond me, further than my YouTube channel has been up 14 years ago or so, you can watch those astrologers were talking about that we were coming into this cycle. We were going to come into a cycle where our societies needed to change, all of these different kinds of things. But as we were getting closer and closer and closer to 2020 itself, really in 2019, people started to say, no, wait a minute, is this going to be, what is this sickness? Is this going to be a sickness? But it's like, was it going to be, the opioid crisis? Was that going to be what took out a whole bunch of people, or what was it going to be? So could it have been predicted? Not perfectly. But was it predicted? Yes. Yeah. We knew we were coming here, but these exact specifics, right? And we also know that going forward, we've definitely got another wave on the way.
Yeah.
Right? But then as soon as, we get through that, then we get to get through that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the idea. And the big player in that, to be astrologically specific, is we look a lot at Neptune. Neptune is in its ruling energy of Pisces. And this is a perfectly comfortable place.
Yeah.
For things like this, for this to happen. But it's also the place of spiritual healing. This
right.
is the
exactly.
prominent place. Yeah. So it's absolutely... it's beautiful. It's life-changing out here.
And it is life-changing.
Retrogrades. Yeah, every planet that we have that will retrograde this year. So in the midst of all of this, we're looking back over personally.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on.
I know, right? Can you just like feel it?
Yeah. Look, I have a question here from Nakia, and she says, Stormy, how important are asteroids in your chart? Are they important or least important or less important?
So that's a good question. I like asteroids, but I tell you what, I had a perfectly successful practice before without talking about asteroids as well. So I think that depending on where you are, where you're called to, where your practice is developed at, bringing in the asteroids is another piece of the conversation, right? You know, you think about that. You go to another country and you learn to say, where is the bathroom only, right? At some point, your vocabulary expands, and now you can find the bathroom in the library and the radio shop. So it's like, you add them in as you go, unless you just absolutely feel called to them. But they add some juicy depth.
Give me an example, can you, or is that difficult to do?
I can.
Oh, good.
So
good,
let's
thanks.
say we're looking at Venus in somebody's chart, and this is going to tell me how they want to be loved. In a woman's chart, it's going to tell me she's going to use these qualities to attract a mate to her and attract things of value into her life, right? But okay, so there's some romance in here as well, right? But your Venus energy alone is not enough to tell me your deep level of commitment. For that, I want to go see, what is your Juno doing? Because your Juno, that asteroid, is going to tell me, oh, okay, hold on. You really do get these partners to come to you, but what stops you from really committing, getting in there and committing, is that you're waiting for them to be perfect. We got to work through that, right? Yeah. So you see what I mean? Like, the asteroid can tell me a little bit. It gives me more nuance. In astrology, I always tell people, think in layers. You think of what you know first, and then you'll get down to this little pebble down here that tells a story, and you can give that away with some nuance, with some specifics. But if you don't use the asteroids in your practice right now, it's okay. It's okay. Start where you are. Do what you have.
Listen, I have another question from Aura. And Aura asks, I have a question about Chiron. Is this placement where we can assist others specifically? I'm not sure if I understand, since it's our own wounding. Maybe you can explain. Yes.
So Chiron is absolutely a service position, right? It is like a God-given, life-given, universal-given service position, right? Because you know that hurt so intimately. It by sharing that hurt, not in the negative way, but saying, oh yes, I get that.
Empathic way.
Yeah, you both receive the healing, right? It's just two people coming to the table telling the truth to each other. That's what your Chiron is, and from it we get truth and we get freedom, right? But Chiron also, just in the chart, especially when it's activated, like if a planet comes around and activates it, you'll start to go, oh my God, I thought I worked on this. Or, you know what I mean? And it's not like, oh my God, you're in this lifetime to just keep redoing it. But because Chiron cuts so deep, it's like on some level you go, I know that place, right? And understanding your Chiron placement, you know, if you got a Chiron in Gemini, you lose your voice often. You forget, you don't trust what you have to say, you don't trust what you know. So when something comes around and activates that thing, you go
That's
right?
Fascinating. Fascinating. Let's see, what else do I have? Let me see if there are other questions here. Let's see. Okay, Elizabeth asks me, what is Raku or Raku?
Raku. So that comes from Vedic astrology.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Vedic, and let me tell you what, these little branches of astrology that are out there are many, and there are many different types. Just like I relate it to the medical field, you can become a doctor, but like, what kind of doctor are you? You know what I mean? And that's going to tell us a little bit more where you specialize. But when we're looking at Vedic astrology, they keep an entirely different thing than the Western tropical astrology that I do. But when we relate the planets together. This relates a little bit more towards Saturn, I believe, in Western astrology.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they tell just a little bit of a different story, same kind of layout. Rahu in Vedic astrology.
Sorry, that was Rahu. Yeah. Yeah,
is
it was
considered
Rahu.
a malefic energy. It's considered a hard or a bad kind of energy.
So you talked about, someone had asked about Chiron, and Aura says, I feel it's been activated for me. That confirms so much. Thank you, Stormy, Chiron, and Gemini she has. So your example, you hit it on the nose.
Really?
I have Marguerite here is asking, what about Cherry Glow? Does that ring a bell?
That to me sounds like it is probably one of the 500 other asteroids or star points. And I'll tell you, I don't specialize in that. That might be a question for you, Marguerite, for Jamie Partridge. He is brilliant. And you can find him at astrologyking.com, and he talks about the stars and points and stuff too. That is out of my realm of knowing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, interesting. So let's see. Let me ask you something else. Okay, so let's say I'll wait for other people's questions. Hang on, I think. All right, Jamie's asking me something. She says left field. She's coming out from left field here. Do you see any intervening beings in the chart, like ETs, that are helping us through this time or help our planet stay safe and find our way to a better world? I don't know if this is a valid question here. This is a general question, I guess, to the chart of the world. I don't understand the question. Do you?
Sure.
Do you?
I understand. Yes, I understand what you're asking, Jamie, and I'm going to tell you two-part. One, I don't necessarily always channel other beings like the Pleiades or anything like that, so that's not typically how it shows up for me. But I can tell you just in the astrology of it, with Neptune in the place that it's in, Neptune is easily able to walk us between worlds. So what I do know and have experienced myself and with other people is that there is a message of ancestry coming through over and over and over again. So our ancestors are able to kind of more easily walk between those veils and help us. Now, the only thing that I would tell you about that as well in terms of helping us move forward, that because of the position, not only are we healing, is our world healing, but some of our ancestors seem to be doing some of their own healing as well. So if you're hearing things from in between the worlds, I would definitely make sure there's counsel on it. Because, you know, Aunt Susie wasn't good with money when she was alive, and she's not better with it dead, right?
Right.
So we do have to be mindful, because there is help. I do believe there's help. I do believe there's support. I do believe that there is earth help, earth helpers, right? But that too also comes a little bit more from just knowing the position astrologically and then tapping into the intuition of it as well. I mean, I don't know about you, Christelle, but as the
no, I don't channel people who don't want to be channeled. I don't. Exactly. That's mind my own business that way.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But it's like, even in that, I feel like as we move around, there are certain times where I'm like, oh yeah, there are some visitors.
Yeah, right.
And that's the beautiful thing. I will say this in a scientific way. That's the beautiful thing about oxygen. It's heavy. Our air is very heavy. So when someone else or something else is in your air, you can tell that someone else or something else is in your air.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
you can feel it. You could feel it.
Elizabeth. Time right now.
Elizabeth asks, Rahu and Chiron are together hard sadness. That doesn't make sense to me, but I'll give it to you.
So if you're looking at it, I'm going to tell you, just because I'm not a Vedic practitioner, I can't always answer that. But if you have Saturn and Chiron together, it can feel heavier, for sure. That can definitely feel heavy. But I don't teach that any of our planets are malefic. That is where I break with Vedic astrology thoroughly. I think that every single one of our planets is actually here to help. Now, I'm a human being, so sometimes when a planet is like, you need to grow up, I don't love how that feels, because I'm like, that's how I feel. You're not making this easy for me.
Yeah.
So are some placements more challenging, especially to the human being?
Yeah.
Yes, but the universe and your chart is kind. you will be given your helpers when you step into the work of those placements instead of fighting against them. But we're human.
Yeah, we're
My
human.
God, we got to fight a little.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to fight a lot.
Yeah, I hear that. We have Diane asks, what does it mean to be born on the dark side of the moon? Is it just a metaphor, or does it have meaning to you? Oops.
So every time we look at a chart, we also want to look at the lunar phase that a person was born in. So that's a little bit what it means. Like you were born on the side where the new moon was approaching, or we're coming just out, because the new moon is the darkest phase of the moon phase. So when you were born on the darker side, it means obviously like there wasn't a ton of light available in the sky when you were born. And so what's the significance of that? Typically what that looks like is you may be a person who your big deal in the world is you may be a disseminator or a gatherer of information. You may also be a person who has to do a little bit more outgrowing old ideas that you were given when you were younger, as opposed to, let's say that somebody was born just after the full moon, right? This person is going to be a busybody. They have words to share because they've got to go share what they learned, what they saw. I was born under all this light. I know stuff. I've seen stuff, right? So being born on the dark side of the moon is not like, you're not in the twilight zone. I promise you, even if your life feels like that. But it's just talking about the lunar phase that you were born in, and it's useful. And then we look at a progressed chart, which tells us you were born here. But the idea is to evolve, to start getting some of this. So where are you at today? What phase of the moon are you under today? And phases of the moon last about 3.5 years. So, where are you at today?
Yeah. Nirvana has a comment here. She said she is really deep. I think she can use tarot cards and runes, perhaps. Completely different things, yeah.
Yeah, in some way I probably could, but I'll tell you what, my experience of just the path is I've sat with cards and they don't speak to me. Like those cards are like, but if I get a reading, cards are very responsive. Like I can usually tell you who's coming on the other side of the card, right? But for me to sit and put my hands on them, for whatever reason, at this point in my journey, I'm open. But that's not how it responds. Now, the other things that do respond to me touching them are herbs and food.
In what sense? What sense?
Oh my God, somebody comes to me and they're talking to me and they say, and I'm going through this and I don't know, I just love chips. And I'm like, you don't love chips? Let me tell you what, I'm a Taurus. I love the experience of food. I can tell you all the foods. But I'm like, hold on. Immediately, the minerals or the lack of minerals in that person's body start to show up to me. And I'm like, you are looking for this. Is this what you're looking for, right? And so in that realm, the realm of food, which is like my favorite thing on the planet, I'm like, lip gloss and food.
I think that's fabulous.
And naked. So if I could have a perfect life, it would contain those things. That's how it works for me. So as I practice more medical astrology and herbal astrology, those are the places like I have a strong call. But those tarot cards, they don't want me.
I understand. Let's see if there's any other question. And in the meantime, I'll ask you. So remember just about 20 minutes ago, I said, Stormy, well, do you have some kind of, in Italian, they say, a dream in the drawer, in the closet, hidden, something on the back burner that you would like to develop? Is there something there in your mind? Maybe you don't want to share it with us. I don't know. What would you like to be doing? What would you aspire to be doing? Let's say in the future, what would you like to do? Something, have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. I have thought about it, and I have thought about it, and I continue to move out of the way to allow it to happen. So for me, like the wet dream of this little alcoholic astrologer is to work with my fellows.
What do you mean when you say fellows?
So my fellow astrologers, my fellow students,
your tribe. You're looking for a tribe. You want a tribe.
And the thing is that I'm in it.
Yeah.
Right? Now what I get to do is develop in it and develop these relationships and go sit and talk with people who've been doing this for decades.
That's the best. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that my real, like when I watch it at the end, right? I see it down there at the end. It is me getting to leave this experience, leaving a legacy of astrology specific,
Woo! I
right?
knew that girl. I met that girl, I'm going to say.
Right? And whether it's my kids or your great grandkids who pick it up,
Yeah.
I want to leave saying I did this and I emptied myself
Yeah, yeah.
into this
I
thing.
have a question from Nakia. Stormy, at what age did you start studying astrology, or has astrology always interested you?
Let me tell you what. Thank you for asking, because I this is how it happened, friends. I have no idea, right? Like, because when I was little, I was born into a very European Catholic family,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
And lots of brothers, sisters, grandparents, German, all of that good stuff. And my mother, God bless her, and she's like a green thumb person. She's
Oh
a
my
good
God.
herbalist.
My God.
She realized that I saw and I experienced the world differently than my Catholic family, which nothing against, right?
Uh-huh.
They were giving me the best that they have, but she saw that I saw things
Interesting.
that my brothers didn't see. And
Interesting.
so it was just there. So the realm of the spirit has always been roomy and inclusive for me.
Oh,
That has
nice.
just been my deal. And I was 6, and my mom took me to my first metaphysical fair, and we're
Oh,
walking around.
bravissima mamma.
Yes,
Fantastic.
she is a keeper.
Yeah.
We will keep Mama Grace.
Yeah.
And I just got to be in there, and I looked over the shoulder of this woman who was doing astrology, and I just was watching her, and I could see what she was doing. I could see what she was doing. And you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
you guys.
sure.
You don't see it with your eyes.
No, you
see
know it. You know
here.
it when you're looking at it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was it. And I think I fell in love, and I think we connected,
Yeah.
astrology and I, right then and there. And that was not the clear-cut path. I did not go sign up for astrology classes as I got older. I studied a little bit. I watched. I listened. I was very spirit-guided. And then I came into another set of 12s in my life,
Ooh.
right? And that set of 12s, when I turned 27, that set of 12s cemented this set of 12s.
Oh, interesting.
And it has been us, and it has been us on go since then. So I worked as a radio DJ for 10 years, and I loved every aspect of what I did, every aspect, from the technical board to the being on air in front of thousands of people.
Nice.
And I tell you what, I walked into this radio station one day, and I walked in, and it's like I walked through a veil, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not ever coming back here. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was going to do. At that point, I had maybe watched one YouTube video. I didn't have interaction with it. And I sat with that, and I was like, where are we going? And I was like, are you joking? I'm going to open an astrology practice and be a YouTuber? I've got 2 kids. I have a mortgage. I'm going to die. We're going to starve, right? And that is how it was. And I stayed in that. I stayed at that radio station for a year, and you guys, it was just the most painful year. It was, and I was so afraid to let go. And I slowly started to build this YouTube thing by watching tutorials. And the measure of success for me with astrology at that point was just that every day did I spend 15 minutes building this thing that I had no idea what it was.
Interesting. Very good. This is interesting. Listen, I have Nirvana asking you, is she clairvoyant, and can you channel your guides?
Yep, Adam, Julie, and Vienne are here. So
yes, I have my names too.
And I will tell you, Julie's funny. So if you get any funny tingles, she's very funny. She just wants to make sure you laugh, right? So that's her. She's my joy guide for sure. And she and I are like this. Vienne is watching all of you. She's like, who is trying to zap us, right? Like Vienne is a suspicious little somebody, but she's my gatekeeper for that reason, right? And Adam's like, girls. Like, let's settle down. Like, just be professional. Right? So I am easily able to channel my guides, and I have some runners who are actually, I must be missing something, actually, so I'll probably have to see
because there's you should probably have a few more there about outer guides. A gatekeeper's an outer guide. The closer ones, maybe 4 to 6, you'll find as time goes by.
Yeah,
Listen.
and I'm thinking I'm probably missing something from my office because my runners are trying to get my attention. Yeah, so something is missing. I have left something somewhere. Maybe I even got a UPS delivery or something because they're very good about that. Yeah, so I channel my guides often, and they are funny, and sometimes when I sit with other people, you know, their guides will have a little bit of something to say. So, yep.
Listen, I have another subscriber said this is the best live I've seen all day.
Well, good. Yay. It's just brilliant to be here. I feel like I do feel like my guides are like, oh, finally. Oh, we've been trying to make an appearance.
Well, with that, I'll end on this beautiful note and say thank you so much for everyone. And Stormy, I can't thank you enough. Down the line, we'll try it again sometime. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Don't go away. I'll come and say goodbye. Let me say goodbye to everyone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, namaste. Thank you so much for coming and making this live possible and asking so many questions. I appreciate that. Namaste. We'll be back tomorrow live with, I can't remember, Q&A time. Bye-bye, everyone.